Hi everybody, this is a recap of what we did today in class. So you go to your classwork tab, open up your Cycle 9 agenda, and find today's date. And you can see here that what we did was understanding the essay assignment and then finding supporting evidence using a graphic organizer and a hyperdoc of texts. So I will show you where to find those in the classwork tab and then how to use them. So the assignment for the essay is posted here as a material. We talked about this several weeks ago, but just to refresh your memory, you are writing an essay that defines your definition of an American. So there's two ways that you can do this. You can write about what an American is, which would be using exemplification, and you would give 3 different examples of qualities Americans have. Or you can give 3 examples of what an American is not, which would be using negation. So if you find it easier to say, not sure what an American is, but I know some qualities that an American does not have, you can approach it from that angle. You do not need to decide before doing any of the stuff we're doing today, which of these you're going to use. That's more for when we actually start writing the paragraphs. So there are going to be 5 paragraphs in this essay. The first one will be your introduction, and it will contain a thesis statement. The next 3 will be your body paragraphs. Each one of those will contain a topic sentence, a quote of evidence from a text we have read in class. You must use a different text for each paragraph, so you will have a total of 3 texts in your paper. You need an explanation of the quote and how it supports your definition, and a transition sentence that leads into the next paragraph. And finally, you will need a conclusion at the end. So I want to stress what is here in bold. Do not panic. We are going to go through each of these steps one at a time as a class with lots of support. I know it's been a long time since you've written an essay, and it's different now since we're virtual, but the point is that I'm going to support you through each step of this. So the first thing we need to do is to come up with quotes that we can use to support our ideas in our essay. So I created this graphic organizer for you. What it has is the name of each text that we read so far this year. And then there's a column to put quotes from the text that you agree with. And over here, how those quotes support your definition of an American. So you see here that there are a lot of texts. This is everything that we've read so far this year. All of those full texts are in this hyperdoc that is linked here. So when you click on that, it will take you to this table of contents page. There's a reminder up at the top that you need to use at least 3 of these texts in your essay. So I organized them by the type of text. So you have articles, historical document, speech, letter, and poems. And each of the titles here is a link that will take you directly to the text of that particular title. So if I wanted to look at Walt Whitman's poetry, I would click here, follow the link, and it will take me directly to the 2 poems we read by Walt Whitman. Okay, so your job is to figure out which 3 texts you think you want to use, or more, to find a quote or more from those texts that you agree with, that are things that you can support. And then to write how that quote supports your definition of an American. So I'm going to walk through, one of them with you right now. So I'll go back to my texts for a minute. And I'll say that I want to try some Langston Hughes. So, maybe you liked it when we read it in class, you thought he had interesting ideas. Anything that draws you to a particular text is fine. So I'm going to say that I like that he talked about equality between races and ethnicities. So I take this section here where he uses this image of being sent away to eat when company comes. I'm going to copy it because I like that quote. I'll go to my brainstorming sheet and find I2, which is the title of the poem, and then paste that quote in there. Always a good idea to remember to put quotation marks around it so that when you put it in your paper, it is properly cited. Okay, so I have my quote. The next thing I'm going to do is think about what exactly this quote is telling me and how that supports my definition of an American. So I might say Hughes is saying that he's being excluded from society, right? That's what he's saying with that image of they send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But he is using his time to grow stronger so that tomorrow he can reclaim his place in society. Right? Because he's saying he's going to laugh and eat well and grow strong, and tomorrow he will be at the table when company comes. All right, so I've broken down what I think Hughes is saying in that quote. Now it's time for me to figure out what that tells me about Americans. If I had to make a generalization, what would I say? So this tells me that Americans are resilient or hardworking, right? Because it tells me that when something bad happens to them, they find a way to grow stronger so that they can overcome that obstacle. So that's what resilient means, but you can also say good at overcoming obstacles, good at solving problems, however you want to phrase it. You want to distill this down into what does it tell you about Americans? Go for a word or a short phrase. So you're going to do that for 3 of these texts or more. And then that is where we finished for the day. You will turn that into me. And then the next time we meet, we will talk about putting it into a thesis statement.